gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be. BlazzinBob gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am BlazzinBob, and today we have a very special guest. He first came on the show at episode 38, told how he got into esports and everything else. So if you want to check that out, you should. But Hexagrams, welcome.
What's up, dude? That was a very radio introduction. Very radio voice. That's not how you sound.
Oh, well, I remember the first time that we met, you go, you know, you have a good voice. Not a great voice, but a good voice.
I don't lie to people, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, try to spruce it up for the intro just a little bit. But we're also here joined by Mel. What's going on, Mel?
Yep, just Mel. That was definitely not as exciting, but it's all right. I'll take it here every week.
Oh, yeah. So today we're going to catch up with Hex and what's going on recently in his Overwatch League life. We're also going to talk a little bit of news, not much, and then talk about the games and maybe preview, depending on time, a little bit of the next week's May tournament. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Now, Mel, do you want to take this first question for Hex?
Sure. He always throws these at me like we don't have a plan. It's fine. So, Hex, you have a new casting partner this year.
Ew.
Your little British buddy.
British.
And I think my favorite part is your American-British banter. But what was it like switching casting partners, and how's it been with Jaws?
Oh, we could talk all hour about this one, I guess. Yeah, I mean the off season was kind of weird. I just want to start like way back when. So I knew Similar wasn't coming back, and I'm always been so like self-conscious and non-confident. So like over the years, whenever we'd have meetings about the off season coming up, I'm like, well, what do we do if Similar doesn't? What do we do? You know? And I think the last meeting I had before the off season, that was just me and the guys in charge. Really, they're like, well, don't worry about it. We want you back. So that alleviated some fears. So when we were doing all the contract stuff and like, I don't know, it got, there's a lot I can't say, but it got kind of weird there for a while. And we were just, beyond just even negotiating numbers and stuff, it was like, well, who do you want to cast with? And I was like, I actually don't know. What are your options? And they gave me like a laundry list, and they're like, you can just pick whoever you want to cast with. And I was like, sweet.
So don't tell all the people you didn't pick.
Oh, wow. It wasn't 100% me, right? So it's like, well, we have these guys that maybe like, but that's how I got in the league too. Like they gave Semler a list of like, here are guys that we think are okay. You can pick one, and he picked me. So that's it. It's not completely unprecedented. So and then there was even very briefly, I honestly thought like I might be going to the desk full time. That was an option to happen too. But then we just didn't have enough casters. So they're like, oh, you have to cast. I was like, okay, I'll cast then. And then there was a very brief moment where we talked about like maybe moving to play-by-play, because there's not a ton of great play-by-play talent out there. You can kind of find a lot of really good people who do color, but play-by-play was lacking. So I was like, well, I can do it. I'm not going to be awesome at it at first. So you got to give me a little bit of time. I've done a little bit before, but we have great play-by-play people in the league. So I think I would have looked fifth, sixth, eighth best on the play-by-play category. And then they're like, oh, what do you think about Jaws? And I was like, well, I don't really know Jaws that well. I've seen some of his casts and whatnot. So I reached out to the people who do know him pretty well and have watched a lot of that. So I'm a big fan of like vouch system. Like, if someone vouches for you, like if I trust you and you vouch for somebody, that means a lot to me. So
Definitely.
I've been vouched for in the past. Like Monty vouched for me just to get me get me on that list in the Overwatch League. Like, but it's like I talked to ZP, who had obviously worked with Jaws a lot in Contenders, and ZP, like me and ZP are good friends. We go way back, so I trust him implicitly. Wolf and Seth both knew Jaws pretty well, and they're like, he's good. He's really good. Trust us, he's good. He'll work. I'm like, well, as long as he's going to work, that's fine. And then that was just how it came about. With negotiations and contracts and stuff, they're like, oh, how about Jaws? I was like, yeah, sure. Everyone says he's good. I'll work with them. I can work with anybody, in my opinion. I have that at least opinion of myself, that I've been able to work with a lot of people and make it work well. But yeah, Jaws is cool, man. Like I think he was on a podcast talking about me, and like we kind of echo the same sentiment. It's like, oh, it's just easy right away. Like we just got along right away, which is always the most important thing to me. Like if you don't get along with somebody, yeah, you can work with them, but it's going to show through that like I'm just here for work. But it's
Yep.
like I always want to cast with somebody that I'd want to hang out with and watch at games anyway.
Mhm.
And Jaw's definitely up there. He's chill, and like that's always like what people say about me when they cast with him. He's like, oh, he's just chill. Like everything's fine. Like nothing bothers him, and just go about your day. Excuse me. Wow, I thought I muted that. Oh well. A little too much Lacroix going on here.
There you go.
Sponsorship when. But yeah,
Yeah.
Jaws is really smart. He's really good at the game. Like he's grandmasters in like every role, so like that helps his game knowledge and everything. He's got the British accent, which is always a +1 when you're a
Yeah.
broadcaster. Like it's just like an insta hack that you get plus points. Like I got to stick with this crappy Midwestern accent. And I got to fight through it.
It's
Same.
actually a +1 just in life in general. Like,
Well,
not
yeah,
just casting.
people think I'm nice, and that's what the Midwestern accent gives you. That's the perk involved in that. But yeah, it's been really easy. To be really honest, it's I'm like, just do your thing, I'll do my thing, and then if we have anything we want to talk about and work on, we'll do it. And I've always said with all my casting partners, I'm like, the moment something you feel is wrong, you got to tell me immediately, because sometimes I
Yep.
won't know. Did I step on your toes? Did you step on mine? Like, if you feel that something was off, we got to talk about it immediately. And it happened with me and Semler like once or twice. Like I cut him off like 5 times in a row on a broadcast, and I could tell. And so we just went out and like, we just talked about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's on me. I'm gonna do this. He's like, well, did I do something that made you want to do this? And so like it's just any issue you ever have when you're casting, you got to get it done. Like right away. You can't linger on that shit.
Hash it out.
Otherwise you'll just start fighting with each other.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish, and this is like partially because of the corona thing, I just wish we were like doing events and like hanging out together. Because I
Mhm.
always think I tell people this when they're working on duos and stuff. I'm like, you guys got to hang out. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you got to just spend time when you're not casting so that you can rib them about like the things they like in everyday life, and you can just bust balls, right? And like
Yeah.
that's kind of part of casting. So I wish I could hang out with Jaws more. Like obviously the homestands that we did a couple of were awesome. We got to hang out. You get to understand him as a person, and then like I think you need to develop an honest to god friendship if you're going to be a good casting. Like anyone can cast the game and know the game and stuff like, but it's like the
Right.
banter and entertainment factor that like you have to know the guy. So that's the only thing I wish that we were able to do a little more is just hang out. Like he lives 2 miles away down the road,
Oh.
but we can't do anything, right? Because it's
Yeah.
just like
And there's no
lockdown. So
place open.
yeah. So it kind of sucks for that, but like we try to just hang out in rehearsals, we'll talk. We're both big into aquariums, which helps, just talk about like fish and stuff. But yeah, it's been really easy. He's super smart. He's really easy to get along with. He can take a joke, which in my book is like you got to have that number one because I'm going to crack jokes on you. The only person I make fun of more than other people is myself. But yeah, he can. I think it's been
I
really
can
good.
vouch for that personally.
Yeah, man, I like cracking on people. If I'm not making fun of you, it means I don't like you because I don't know how you're gonna take it and whatnot, right? Like I
Yep.
just that's always how I was raised. Like my siblings and all my boys, like we're just cracking on each other constantly. And if it's funny, it's fine. Everything's fine if it's funny. So yeah, that's this kind of how I get along with people. But he's been great. I think the product we're putting out is really good. I think it could have been a lot better had we just been, staying in hotels, flying, and just hanging out all day, every day. So that's
Just
the only
like
thing.
you and
Like,
Semler did.
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, me and Sumler hung out constantly
Every
when we
time
weren't.
every time I saw you outside of the league, you guys were together.
Yeah, we're good friends. We actually speak pretty regularly still. So I mean, I still love Semler, but like, yeah, I mean, I think the product could be better if we were able to just be in each other's lives more. But the world is how it is. But I think right now we're actually I'm pretty proud of what we're doing, especially not being in the same room with somebody, not being able to read when they're going to talk and when they're not. Just trying to getting the rhythm down. So he's been great, and everyone told me he's like, yeah, he's a really good caster, he's a really good play-by-play caster, and I'm like, perfect, that's fine. And also like we have very different tones. He sounds different. All the little things of craft that I do when I do VOD review. I'm like, you got to sound different. You have to have a different energy. Like all of that just kind of worked out naturally. But he's been fantastic. He's really good, really smart at the game, and so it's nice because he's like play by play and color in once because he just really gets the game. He's super smart, so it just leaves me room to be like, yeah, that all sounds good, and then I get to make a joke. Like I don't even have to do analysis anymore. Like analysis is just like, oh, I have to do this, but really, my casts are just trying to be like the Rob Kirkbride comedy hour.
Try
Well,
putting him and Jake together, and you just would never get anywhere, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like Jaws is he's really lighthearted. He'll take a joke. He'll knock on himself too, right? So it's like I think that stuff is much more important in casting than Well, I mean, everything else is the baseline, right?
right.
And like elevating it and having banter and being funny and entertaining is like that's what makes a really good product in my opinion.
definitely.
Yeah.
My opinion too. Yeah,
I
and I
definitely think you guys
often
had. Sorry.
oh no, you go.
I was just gonna say, I think you guys had more chemistry when you guys started than most people had the first season when they started as like casting duos, except for the ones that have been casting forever together,
Well, the
obviously.
yeah, but I mean, like the only ones that hadn't been casting together were me and Semler. It was only 3 pairs in the first season. It's Monty Doa,
Oh,
Matt Mitch, and me and Semler.
Oh yeah.
really?
Yeah, pretty much all we do is bring in established pairs for the mostly
Yeah.
in the
And
league,
then you
except they're like,
bought
yeah, except they wanted Semler, and then I don't know. That's a whole different podcast of like the moment
Yeah.
Semler called me in like November of 2016, I think.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, just watching him like walk through his Venice place with his parents, just smoking, be like, hey man, what do you think about maybe casting some Overwatch?
it sounds like him too. Yeah. You were talking about not knowing where you were going to go, and I always describe you to other people as the Swiss pocket knife of Overwatch League talent. Like you're willing to do anything, go on the desk, do different extracurriculars, do commercials, like in what was that season one?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
and so like I figured you would land somewhere. I just didn't know where.
I mean, the desk was really appealing to me early on because it's like, working every day a week, just living in downtown LA. And, when I knew Zoe was going to host the desk, and me and Zoe talked about it, and like we get along really, really well. And she always likes me on the desk. So she was kind of pushing for me to be on the desk, but it just really came down to I wanted to do both. Like, they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I like them both. We'll see. Like, I don't know how much money does this pay? How much money? Like,
Right.
at the bottom of
If
the
they're
day,
even, what's gonna
no.
push one up?
Yeah, I mean, and like, how much am I getting paid less on the desk because I'm working more? Like, am I getting paid more? Because anyway, but it just came down to just not having enough people to actually cast the game. But I was open to doing both. I was like, if you need me to do desk, you guys know I can. I got like a strange backhanded compliment like the first time I did the desk. I think it was season two, where like one of the guys who like runs the league was like, that was just really surprising. You stole the show up there. Like we didn't know you had that. Like and I was like, well, put me on there again. Like let's do it. But like I felt I really did well on the desk. It felt really natural to me. And especially the desk that we had in season two with like Brandon, Josh, and sometimes Bucket, Zoe up there too. It was just like Bren and Josh have a very different brand of humor than I do, and so like just like kind of being like dry and the way I am, right? I don't know how else to describe it. Like kind of like dry, dark, sarcastic comedy. Like it just really balanced it out, and I thought it went really well. So I'm definitely open to like going back to the desk and things like that. So I did desk this year 3 or 4 times, even in the short time we had the ability to do so, because someone would be doing it and like I don't know. Anytime anyone's sick, like I just know, like I'll see it in the WhatsApp group of like, guys, I'm not feeling well, and I'm like, I'm gonna get a text message in 5 minutes from our talent manager asking if I can fill in. I know it because like I'm always the guy who's like, yeah, of course, I'll always work. Like I never say no to anything. We need someone to do this, or ask Hex because he'll do it, and like that's where the list usually ends up stopping because I never say no to anything because I want all the opportunities in the world, right? So like being on the desk, taking the chances whenever I got the chance to do it, pushing to do it of like, hey, does Bren need a week off this weekend? I'm available. We can do that. And like I think that opens a lot of doors, kind of showcases I don't know, all of my innumerable talents. But yeah, desk was always super fun. I wish I could do more this year. But right now it's just difficult to do. So unless someone's camera breaks or something, I won't be slotted
Yeah.
in on the desk.
I do really miss uh the extra guest spot on the desk because it just gave a different perspective each week that just kind of went with the rest of the desk really well. Like I really enjoyed that. I hope maybe you guys could get back to that even from home.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring it up. I pitch ideas constantly. It's just a matter of what we can and can't get done.
Yeah. But
Why did they remove the guest spot? Do you know? Or can
I'm
you
not.
say?
No, I'm not certain actually. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's just a tech limitation, but also like you've got people who are they try to give casters an off week every couple of weeks. You can't grab the guys who are doing the late nights and then
Mm.
just rotating in all the tech and trying to get people in there. I would imagine is a nightmare. Maybe when things get a little more settled, although I'd hoped they'd been more settled by now, tech wise, then maybe we can start bringing more people in. But it's probably just that. Like, why add another piece to the workflow? This is working. Why mess with it? Do we have time to rehearse it? Do we have time to try? So it's probably a lot of that, although I don't know
Yeah,
directly. So that's all just speculation on my part.
Well,
makes sense though.
anybody to go in and make more fun of Johnny, I am for.
Johnny's been great this year.
Oh,
Custis got
dude,
that one covered.
he's been awesome. But I mean, it's awesome. Like him and Custis' banter has been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I was on the desk like what time, and Johnny mentioned something about like being a championship. I'm like, oh, we're going back 3 years in tournaments now. Like, what are we really doing here, Johnny?
Oh
How long
man.
are we gonna ride that hype train?
I mean, like, like I always make fun of people, but they know it's all in love, and like it's just like anything for a laugh, really. I mean, well, within reason. I'm not really like kind of a clown, kind of get a laugh, but I'll say some shit that maybe I shouldn't have if I think it's gonna be funny. And I'm like 95% right, but that 5% when you say something that's like kind of mean and is not funny, you just feel like such an asshole.
Like, oh,
Oh,
You're like,
man.
oh no, I'm sorry, that was different in my head. It was really funny in my head.
came out way different.
So besides Jaws, you have some new casting talent in there. I'm specifically thinking of ZP, who you know a lot about, and Jake, who is new to the scene. What do you think they bring to the broadcast?
Jake obviously brings that like ex pro player factor, and that's really good. And ZP is just technically sound play by play. I mean, it doesn't sound like the highest praise, but it's actually really difficult to be technically sound in play by play. And I think he sets up Jake well a lot. They had a good chance to work with each other earlier in the year. So obviously, Jake has that. Actually, I think they worked with each other maybe 2 years ago, even at World Cup. Anyway, they have a history. ZP has worked with more people than I have. He's the only person in the league who's worked with more people than I have. But yeah, I think they bring that. I mean, it's just a very technically sound play-by-play broadcast with ex-pro player analysis. I think again, like in season one, like in season two, all the duos are different. You don't like one of us, you should like some of us. Like there's something for everybody out there. We're not all doing the exact same thing. I think is really important. But yeah, I think that's what they bring. Like they set out, ZP does a great job of setting up Jake to perform well in what Jake does and just kind of deep dive in the analysis. Um, Jake had a solo cast, which I guess is super impressive to people. Like, wow, he talked fast.
It
I
was
don't know. I could go on a rant.
hilarious.
I could go on a rant about this. Look, Jake did really, really well, but like the reaction to it of like, oh my god, amazing. I'm like, it's actually really easy to solo cast. It's not hard. It's much harder to duo cast, in my opinion. Just like speaking really fast and calling everything on screen is not that impressive, in my opinion. I think he did great. This is not a knock on Jake. This is a knock to the reaction to it. It's like, oh my god. It's like, guys, it's all right. It was just really interesting to me see how our community reacted to that. I thought
My
it was
favorite reaction was
Go ahead.
Houston saying, "Breathe, Jake, breathe." Like he
I
was
like
like
the
literally, I don't even think he took a breath for like a minute and a half.
I liked a vast tweet of man uses all oxygen on planet trying to solo
Yeah.
cast. That was pretty good. Well, like, yeah, it
Oh,
was
man.
great. It was just really weird to me, the community reaction. I'm like, you guys know like 3 words a minute is not that fast, right? Like it just got very, very strange and kind of I don't know, circle jerky as Reddit gets. It was phenomenal,
Definitely.
but I think they're very, very good. Yeah, I like listening to them. I like watching them, but for different reasons than I like listening to and watching everybody else. But I always learn something when I about the game when I listen to Jake, and I always learn something about broadcasting when I listen to ZP. So me and him talk about the craft a lot. We kind of always we grew up on traditional sports, so we kind of know like there is a craftsmanship behind casting, and we always talk about the little things about that and how to improve. Because at this point, you're not going to improve with your game knowledge or anything else. It's just like, what does the craft look like? What did I do right and what did I do wrong there? Man, I keep saying as well. God damn it, I need to cut that word out of my, like it's a
Ugh.
filler word. I did it on my last broadcast and it was killing me and I just couldn't get out of it. But it was like 4 in the morning. I'm like, dude, fuck it. My brain's just like, I can't do it right now. I can't make edits right now.
The word like plagues my life. Like.
Yeah. And when I do VOD reviews and things, I always tell people, I'm like, the only reason, see, I have to sit it there. The only reason you're saying these words is to give your brain a second to think. Just go to
Mhm.
silence. Silence is infinitely better. But that was kind of like pushed into me at a young age when like in speech classes and stuff, saying and things like
Mhm.
that. So I try to be very cognizant of it. Though in this conversation, I think I've said like several times.
I
It
say it
it
constantly
just
and it kills me.
happens.
Like,
It just
see, it
happens.
just happened again. I've pretty much beat That was a struggle early on, but the
Mhm.
like word is just so easy to throw in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what about? Because I knew Sideshow was going to be awesome, but I was a little worried about Bren. But Bren's actually impressed me quite a bit with his transition over to casting.
Bren's always thought he was going to do very well. There's Bren does not
Surprised
lack
me.
Bren does not lack confidence at all, and I truly admire that about him. Like he goes in with a world beater mentality of like I'm going to do finals next year. We'll see. Um, and I'd always given them a lot of shit because I knew they wanted to get into casting and whatnot. And like I thought I didn't think it was going to happen because they were both so good on the desk. I was like, well, we got to find someone to replace you on the desk first, right? Because you guys are so good on the desk that it's going to be hard for you to move into casting, mostly just because we don't want to leave that void to fill on the desk. And I think it was at BlizzCon and they were doing World Cup, and I was kind of, I was just kind of fucking with them at the bar, and I was like, "Hey, you guys did good today. I thought you were going to be complete shit, but you guys did good." Um, but yeah, I've been impressed with them. I think they've grown actually throughout the year. If you watch all of their stuff, I think World Cup was a little bit here and there, all over the place. I think Bren learned not to fry your vocal cords the way I think he ended up doing at World Cup. A little too much excitement, but that happens. So he just play by play, especially has to really take care of their throat. I just get to talk like a normal human being. They got to do like other stuff.
You
But I
get to
think
follow up the hype.
they've been really good. They're good friends, obviously. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about beforehand. They've been friends for a long time, so they've never had to work on like banter and getting along and how to do it. That was going to be the natural part. So it was going to be, can you come in technically? And again, it's much harder for play by play than color. So you're right. Sideshow was going to have a much easier gig. He's really got a great brain for the game, able to understand and analyze quickly. That was the only question I had. I was like, okay, so he does like videos and breakdowns and stuff where you have 5 minutes and you can look at it. Can you do it in 2 seconds? Because that's the maximum amount of time you have. And he nailed it. And then Bren, I think, has gotten a lot better at just keeping his voice at the right speed and the right pace for when the moment dictates, instead of being super up all the time and trying to like really be those hype moments. He's letting the game come to him, and I think they've been phenomenal. And like they've got such a great fan base, and they're so good on social that like I knew they were going to be well received. Even if they were terrible, they were going to get well received. So they're never going to have to deal with the hurdles of criticism and things like that. But right now, any criticism would be undue because they've been nailing it. So of the people we've added this year, yeah, I don't think you can say a bad word about any of them. Really,
Yeah.
it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I have definitely missed the cast and crew that left, but I really do think that the Overwatch League talent is really good, and I think it was. We won't say upgrade; we'll say side grade. It was just great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different, right?
Hmm.
So, but there is no one to replace Monty and Doa. No one really sounds like them. No one's doing their thing. Like I think that's always so important. Is like this is the product this duo does, and it's not somebody else's, and it's not anything else. It's organically what we've grown. This is how we make the show. I hope you like it because this is what's best for us. And just understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are for product wise.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, Monty and Doa are their own brand, and they will be immortalized as their own brand. It sucks to not have them in the league. I don't really know exactly what happened in the off season. Well, I do. I just can't tell you. But
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
it's nobody's business really, but
no, it
theirs.
really isn't.
You could follow
So
Monty on Twitter.
we've
He's
got
very helpful.
yeah, we've got 5 returning casters. What Matt and Mitch, Seth and Wolf, and then me, and then they just pull a name out of a hat. Oh, that Hexocast with them. No,
That
just
looks
kidding.
good.
Yeah, and then obviously with people who have worked in the league, and then ZP joining the league is a long time coming. I
Heck
told
yeah, it
him,
was.
yeah, I told him a little bit. I don't know if it wasn't this last BlizzCon. It was the BlizzCon before. And he's like, "Well, I don't know how much I'm going to do." I'm like, "Give it one more year." So you got to give it one more year. If after that, then we'll talk. We'll figure it out then. But we're just sitting by the pool. I'm like, I know it sucks. Trust me, I know. but give it one more year because like even early on when I'd get passed over for gigs, he was always the same. He's like, I know it sucks. Got to keep at it. Just put your head down. Keep on the grind. Do you want to keep doing it? If not, then don't. If you do, then just keep at it. But yeah, that was always so strange. Like ZP not getting it.
It was
That,
weird.
that's a whole like another 2 hours I could just talk about like that situation. We were in Denver at the time. I was doing OWPS. He was doing contenders. We had things on the table, then they weren't on the table. The off season is so strange. Contract season is a nuts season where everyone is just stressed out and whatever. This last contract season, I wasn't really stressed out. I was just like doing yoga and chilling. I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I would talk to Semler like once a week, and that always helps. He's like, hey man, well, we'll figure it
He's
out.
so chill, dude. He's so chill. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen him not chill.
No, he's the chillest human being ever. Almost uncomfortably so sometimes.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
man, yeah. But I mean, yeah,
Bed or something.
he's just straight up awesome. But
But
go ahead.
yeah, go. No, it's not.
I was just gonna kind of want a little insight on what all's went into the production of the show since the pandemic happened, and since you guys had to basically scramble to put a almost entirely new product together separately.
It was definitely a scramble. So I think the week prior, I was on the desk, and I was like, "Hey, I'll see you in Miami," because that was going to be the next homestand I was going to go do. And then it's turned into, okay, we can't do homestands. That homestand's canceled. And that same day they told me it was canceled, I had to go do an interview, but it wasn't public information yet. So they were asking me like, hey, what do you think of this? Who's gonna win this weekend at the Miami homestand? And like I just had to go on there and just like lie to them, be like, it's gonna be really exciting. Like
Oh god.
because I couldn't obviously share that information yet. And then we had maybe planned of doing it in downtown LA, set up a studio or like, set up a gaming area and a casting studio and everything in the offices that we have in downtown LA. And that was like actually legitimate set up. There were computers, there was a stage, there was everything. It looked awesome. It was going to be super fun. Then 2 days later, the government order came down. They're like, "Oh nope, can't do that. We're going to close everything." So I think it was a Thursday. Um, just got a text from our talent manager of like, "Hey, can you guys come to the studio? We need you to pick up kits." Um, and so we're trying to like organize enough people who have cars to get down there and pick up enough kits and do everything. And I think I drove down to downtown LA at like 8:30 at night, and just went into the offices, grabbed this giant case, which is somewhere behind me that has this $1,000 Black Magic SLR Magic camera in it, which is why it looks so ugly. Usually, like I can rely on like low resolution and frame rate to save me, but this thing picks up everything. So I feel a little bit red and blotchy right now, but it's all right. Um, so we got that. Then the audio setup, obviously this headset, it's a little audio box too, so that we have like really high end stuff. And then they're like, do you have computers? What do you have that we can work with? So pretty much the kit came with the camera, a transfer box, the audio setup, and everything. And then they drop shipped us the backdrops that you end up seeing. Not this one, of course, but the
Yeah,
Overwatch League backdrops.
the ones branded.
We've actually gotten 3 of those. One was a initial just Overwatch League 5x7 one, but it felt small, so we were really cramped into it. And then we got the Xfinity thing to put over it, and then they sent us a much larger one that's fills up the entire living room. But yeah, then they just gave us backdrops, and then we went through tech setup rehearsals and stuff of like, this is your feed, this is how you input it to us, this is what you see on the output, this is your team speak, there's like we just they sent us a bunch of stuff to figure that out, and then we just went with it. Actually, it wasn't that hard, to be honest. Like, because most of us have streamed before, so it's like,
Right.
okay, we know this. I imagine IT had a much more difficult time with some of the producers, who've only ever used like a MacBook and don't know like how to do anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they
Um,
know spreadsheets.
yeah, so we got set up pretty good, and pretty much I go on, and then rehearsals are like, "Hey, can you turn the stream on?" I'll turn it on, then we rehearse, and then we try to go live. I don't know why sometimes I'm muted, and I have to restart the stream and stuff. Like there's still little tech issues like that that throw me off. They're like, "You're muted." I'm like, "I'm literally not. I know I'm not. I don't mute it. I don't touch anything ever because I know shit is prone to breaking, so I don't do any of that. When I want to mute, I flip my microphone up and I walk away and I don't talk. Yeah, then sometimes they're like, well, you got to restart. And so that happens during broadcasts. We're trying to figure out some of the little wrinkles there. But overall, it's been pretty easy. It's just about the mental aspect of it. Of like, that's why I set up this studio in my living room because I used to stream from my bedroom computers right in there. But I'm like, I can't like wake up and walk 3 feet to work. It's gonna like mess with my head because I used to work from home as well, but I set up like a home office because I'm like I can't
Right.
work in the same room that I do everything else in. It's gonna really screw my head up. So I built this whole new. I wasn't using my living room much anyway, so I built like a whole new studio out here. And now it feels like when I'm out here, I'm either streaming or I'm casting or whatnot. So like this is like it feels different. Like my bedroom computer, play battlegrounds, watch streams, surf the web. This is like where everything actually gets done out here. But it was rather easy. You just go pick up a giant kit. They had everything set up for us, like, and then you just get like an email of like, these are your settings. This is how you do it, and then you hit go, and then you fix it on the fly. But as far as our end goes, it's super easy. We hit
It
stream, then we count down to try to sync audios and whatnot. I don't know what it looks like on the end of the producers. It's got to be much more difficult than my job, but for us, it's been pretty easy. And we got a ton of really nice gear that I'm just using now to stream stuff. So it's like it's actually
There you
been
go.
a net benefit.
yeah, it
Did Mitch
seems like
skip
you
the
have.
class? I was gonna say, did Mitch skip the class about muting the mic? Did he?
No, I mean like
I'm kidding.
Sometimes it's our fault. It was my fault once. I totally forgot to unmute, right? It was, and then like when we did go back on air, I'm like, don't blame production. That one was on me. Sometimes though, you're talking and you haven't touched anything, you haven't changed anything, and they're like, you're muted. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I don't know why. And I'll turn off the audio box and I'll restart the computer real quick. Thank God for SSDs.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I'll just be like, I'll pop back in and be like, I hope you can hear me now because we got to go. Like, but yeah, sometimes things just break, and I think it's like bandwidth issues, just processing power issues. But like, you can't get around that. We're doing our best.
It
The fact
seems
that
like
everybody's
you.
on the internet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it seems like you also have two mutes. You have a mute to the broadcast, and then a mute to talking with each other or talking with
Yeah.
production. So
Well,
that
I
could
never
probably get
used that
confusing.
one. Yeah. Well, I never mute TeamSpeak. So whatever nonsense me and Jaws are talking to each other, in breaks and whatnot, when I've had everything else muted, everyone hears. And so you try to keep that like not like, hey, I hate production. Obviously, I don't anyway. But like you're a
Some
little
of
brightened up
those,
on it. But also,
some of
like you
those
should,
have come through though, Hex. Like where
yeah.
you
Well, you
guys
should
are
treat
just a little talking.
you
It's
should
pretty
treat
good.
every mic like it's live for the most part. I do try to mute OBS in breaks and stuff if I have something important to talk to Jaws about that I don't want on air. I don't think that breaks the stream, but who knows? I don't know. Like just hitting the little red icon that mutes me in OBS. The only downside is sometimes I forget to
Ooh,
unmute it, but for the most part, I think it's been pretty good. I sent out like a Twitter poll on week one. I was like, would you rather have this or nothing? Like, those are your
yeah,
options, right? Do you want a kind of scuffed stream? Because it is. It's going to be kind of scuffed. We're doing our best, but it's not going to be perfect or nothing. Those are your options. So shut up. That was pretty much my
right.
point.
Well, it gets better every week, and that's all we could really ask for is that you keep looking for ways to improve it, and that keeps happening. Now
Yeah.
we're
Get
getting
face
interviews
cams.
again. We're getting the face cams, which are really cool and sometimes really sad,
Yeah.
like
Well,
Vancouver after
Well, I
match two.
mean, yeah, but I mean that's I think people overlook it how much context and personality that adds. Even if like if the people are on screen for 2 seconds, you're like, oh yeah, these are human beings. It's not just a
It
name and a
does.
server. Yeah, and it's a super small thing, but I started noticing it because we didn't have it for so long that when
Mhm.
we would just have 2 seconds of like face cams, I'm like, awesome. I don't know why I feel like this is awesome, but I know it is somehow, and like it creates a well-rounded broadcast. So it's been really nice to try to add these pieces into it, and it's going to be slow going, right? Like we're mixing up a batter here, and we're slowly adding some sugar and hoping it doesn't like mess up everything. So yeah,
I
I
find
think
it's
it's gotten better.
easier. Yeah, I agree. I find it's easier to like remember who played when I see their faces too, rather than just seeing like their little name in the corner or something. Like if they don't do anything crazy that match, it could be like halfway through the match before I'm like, whoa,
Like, oh, they switched out
that
so and
person's
so.
in.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it was like a few minutes when when oh oh my gosh, I'm blanking. When Muma got benched on that last map,
hydration.
hydration comes in. It took me a few minutes to be like, oh my god, hydration's in.
Yeah, it
But if it's
it
on
didn't take
stage,
me
I
that long.
see it. I see him walk
Yeah,
out.
I mean, on stage we would have put his face on screen, and there have been a bunch of stuff there. So I mean, it's definitely some workarounds that we have to think of as broadcasters too, to like really hit home, because we don't even see all the roster swaps all the time now.
Mhm.
So it's just like really trying to hit home moments like that. And yeah, it gets difficult because you're not always certain who's coming in, who's coming out. And sometimes like I'm looking at a story document rather than the lobby to see who's in and who's out. We don't always get it in our ears because it has to go through like 4 different channels to eventually get to us. So it's probably easier for us to just to look at like who's at the top of the screen,
Right.
things like that. But yeah, I mean, there's small adjustments we have to make to supplement the information that we do and don't get on broadcast. We don't have standings up constantly. We have to like, 2 nights ago this happened. So it's a small workaround, but it's not very difficult.
Awesome. Well, we did talk about you being a jack of all trades in the Overwatch League, and you have a new like kind of like segment or show on the Overwatch League YouTube channel called In Your Sights. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how that came about?
Yeah, it's in my sights. Get it right. God, do you even research this
My
show?
bad, my bad. I've actually watched every one of them because Overwatch content has like lots of the content creators have moved over to different things, and so like I definitely
Yeah.
have watched tons of those, if not all of them.
Well, they give the elevator pitch. In My Sights is a video series in which I follow a single player's point of view throughout one match and talk about what they did well and what you can bring to your own competitive games. Um, yeah, how did that come about? You know, it's funny, dude, because like I sit in content meetings a lot to try to figure out like what can we put on YouTube channels, what's a good idea. And I've always been trying to I just pitch all the time. Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And maybe 1 out of 100 hits, whatever, but that's kind of just what pitching is. This one wasn't my idea, oddly enough. Like, of the 100 ideas I had, this was not one of them. This came from one of our producers. It's just like, "This is a good idea," and I don't know how they tapped me for it. Maybe it's just because they know, like, I'll say yes. I'm always at the top of the list. Like, I will, I hit deadlines, I get shit done. There's never an excuse. Like, I need something done. Well, just ask Hex. Hex will do it. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's because I'm good at this stuff. Who knows? There might be a different part of it. So it was just like a pitch show idea, and I was like, I think the first one we did was Xe, and I was like, okay, so how do I do this? They're like, well, just talk over his POV. I was like, that's it. They're like, yeah, and then we'll edit it. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how
Okay.
it goes." So generally, I record on my laptop on the I go to the replay viewer, I hit record, I walk away, I go do something else. The POV, I come back, I watch it like once, I make some mental notes, like, yeah, that was interesting, and then I hit Audacity record, and I while I'm watching it, and I'm like, "Hey, 3, 2, 1. Hey, this is Hex. This is in my sight." All that, and I just do it in one take. There's no script, and then they clean it up whenever I flub a word or I do a line wrong or something. I'll stop and I'll say it again, and then they usually can edit it. It's only once or twice I've had to really go back and redo a line because I called a hero name wrong, I think. But that's like small stuff like that. So I usually do them Tuesday mornings. Like today, me and my producer who handles it. We're talking back and forth about like, do you want to do this guy? Do you want to do this guy? This might be good. This might be good. And then we eventually settle on one. And I said, okay, by tomorrow, I I don't know. It's not like a hard deadline, but I usually say before noon. I'll wake up at 10, I'll have a coffee, and then I'll do it, and then I send it in usually before noon. They turn it around really quick for the next day, add some music, do some edits, and that's it. So it's not really work intensive, to be super honest. No one has to write the script. Like all the creative content is just me just talking about the game. And I don't really do scripts or anything. Sometimes I'll like jot down the notes. Every episode has those like 3 things you want to look at kind of thing. But
Right.
it's not super focused on the casual audience, but I think there are a lot of like small things that people don't realize a lot. So I'm always trying to pick those up. Like I know in my own gameplay, I'm like, oh, I don't do this, so this might be interesting. Like Zen's melee cancels his volley. Like it's just small stuff like that that people should know, and maybe they do, but they don't recognize. And then we just try to really highlight like this is why the player's good. Look at this positioning. Look at this. Look at that. But I mean, I'm stunned by the reception it's gotten. I think it's everyone seems to really like it. It's only pretty much a couple people putting it on every week. Like I said, I do all that. I write it, I read it, I do it that live, and then we just send it to an editor. And our editors are amazing. They cut out all the crap that I don't do right, and then they put in all the good stuff, and then they make it all look really good. But you think about like the return on that, and I don't know. I don't have like I'm not really good at return on investment stuff, but it's like it's just me. I do it in one day. then we send it to an editor and it's done. And generally the videos get 30,000 plus views. So
Yeah.
I think as far as a product goes, I'm super happy with it. I've got one lined up to do tomorrow. I just recorded. So we'll do it every week. And small promo plug. I've been trying. Well, I've only done one, but I'm going to do it again. I've been doing them live on my stream. Where we'll watch like a POV of someone I didn't do that week, obviously for the YouTube channel, and then I'll just do it live. And so we did one last week live, worked out pretty well. And I think I'm going to start cutting those and putting them on my YouTube channel, like call it like budget in my sights or something. Because obviously it's not getting edited. There's no background music. It's just me watching a video. Of like, it was kind of interesting to see like how, I was just showing people how I did it. I'm like, okay, let's watch it once. And with the stream, I watched it once. I was like, I'm going to note that. I'm going to note that. And then I was like, okay, so this is how I would actually do it. And then I went into the voice, like it's all a little bit different than your regular voice, but like, hey, this is X from the Overwatch League. This is in my sights episode today, like that kind of shit.
Yep.
Right.
So I could do like one every day of the week, to be honest. I just don't know where to put it or how to do it. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even my idea. Great idea from the producers. We did a pilot, we did XE, and then everyone loved it. And then we started adding a couple graphics here and there. But for the most part, it's just been kind of rinse and repeat every week. So I get an email Monday from my buddy Luke, and he's like, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" I was like, "I want to do that one. We haven't done a Winston yet, so let's do that one." And he's like, "Okay." And then I send him an MP3 or a WAV file the next day, and then they cut it, and then it goes up, and then we get 30,000 viewers because we're awesome.
Yeah,
I will
I
say
mean,
you
it's
haven't done an
perfect.
outlaw. I don't know if you've noticed this.
I don't know if you've noticed the Outlaws roster.
Yes. Did you see their game this last week? We killed it.
So there are things that come to mind when I'm picking people, right? So I think I've done a couple on Paris, so I'd try to steer away from Paris again. We're probably gonna end up doing a couple on Philly, so we try to like I do keep that in mind of like I'm not gonna do the same hero and the same team every week. I try to keep it in mind to give some variety. Most important though, in my opinion, is doing hero variety rather than team variety. Like yeah, sometimes people are going to go off on a team and like I just can't do them again. But I'm trying to get through most of the heroes, right? So it's and also I try not to do like DPS back to back weeks, support back. Just there are some considerations that go into that. But if someone had an awesome game, I'm going to do it no matter what. But yeah, we're trying to kind of round it out. It's supposed to be it's slightly edutainment, although that was not like the initial pitch. I think once they saw my first pilot on it and how I was like this is good because of this and trying to be like somewhat casual focused, somewhat learning focused of
Mhm.
like he does this because of this and look at, like that kind of thing without talking down to people, but just like this is cool. You need to know
Right.
this is cool and this is why. So I think we've kind of hit that sweet spot in the middle of not like you need to learn. It's not baby's first Overwatch, right?
Right.
It's these are the pros. These are the small things they do that you could do at home, right? And then we got to the Carpe episode. I'm like, some of this you can't teach. I'm sorry. You're not
Yeah.
going to hit every Hanzo
He's
shot.
just good.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just like,
No,
sorry.
but then that's what you say, right? Like this is just Carpe being Carpe. You can't teach this. But the things he did beforehand is he took this angle and the Sonic arrow went here, and that's how he knows this. Now it's still down to you to hit that shot. But you could have done everything before that to set yourself in the right position, right? So
Yep.
To miss the
I'm
shot.
yeah, I'm super proud of it. I wanna do more of them. I think like I said, it wasn't my idea, and I think it just ended up working out really well of like how I want to talk about the game, the rhythm that I have when I talk about the game, and just I don't know. It's kind of become like Bob Ross Overwatch. Like it's just calming. It's like like just come. He makes a
Paint
mistake.
some trees.
I think I was doing Luffy's on Ana, right? And he's playing like alone on the Ana in the composition, and he dies a lot. And so many times I was like, he dies, but that's just gonna happen. You have to accept it. In Overwatch. And then I'd go to the YouTube comments and be like, these are so relaxing. So I'm not trying to play into that, but I think that naturally happened of like, hey man, let's just watch some Overwatch. Let's chill. It's in my sights. Let's go. The soundtrack it like helps with that too. So I've been very, very happy with that product, but it wasn't my idea. So it kind of humbles me a little bit of like, this is an amazing idea and I didn't have it. The shit happened there. But I'm really happy to be
reevaluate your idea thinking process there.
I'm really happy to be a part of it, and I'm glad that everybody seems to like it a lot. So.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's great time-wise content for YouTube, and it's just like it really is just great. You were going through uh oh my gosh. Like it again, Paris, their 200 ping
Oh yeah,
Anna
Fielder. Yeah,
Fielder.
Fielder.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
you're
was last week.
yeah, you're going over that. You were talking about basically how less is more, how he moves from each bit of cover, and that's something everybody can do.
Yeah, and there's stuff that I talk, when I'm watching it, I recognize faults in my own play. I was like, oh, he leaves the Discord on people till they're dead. I'm shooting that thing all over the place. I'm like, Discord here, Discord there. Everybody gets a Discord. And that's terrible. It doesn't help at all. And so like I'm one of the people who would be watching anyway. So I'm just kind of like, oh, this is something that maybe you should think about. Like, and I think I mentioned it in that video. I'm like, in my own play, I know I move the Discord around too much. But watch how he does it here, right? So it's I get to learn through it, and I feel like I don't know. I think like over the last couple of years, I've tried to change my attitude from like super smart analyst to really well informed fan. And there's a little bit of a difference because like I still want to come across as like, well, not even come across. I love the game and I want that to come through. Like first and foremost, I'm a fan. I'm a super fan. I just happen to know a little bit more and I can speak a little bit better than a lot of people. But I'm not going to try to like Professor Hex you and like just try to be like, well, this happened because
Professor
this
Hex.
happened, and 2 milliseconds later, this bubble came out, and that's why the shield takes 5 more damage, and that shield taking 5 more damage goes down here. I don't find that interesting. There are some people who do it good. I don't. I don't do that very well. So I want to be like, I'm really well informed fan. That's why I can do some color. We're gonna have some fun. I know these teams. And also like, I'm a little bit smart. I've been watching this game longer than most people have been playing it. So
Right.
that's kind of the brand that I've latched onto, I think.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's just bust into a little bit of news. There's some changes in Overwatch League roster contracts and stuff, but the one that I really wanted to talk about is now the addition of 14-day contracts, which I thought was interesting and actually pretty smart for like trial runs.
Yeah, I mean, it came to as a surprise to me. I think it's kind of a band-aid, just given some of the things that have happened. Like, kind of have to allow this. But I mean, it makes sense. I think in almost every sport, like you have trial periods and stuff. To me, it just seems like a kind of like a bringing someone from the practice squad or something. Like
Yeah,
we're gonna try you out. We'll see if you fit with the team. Like it makes a ton of sense that it should have been happening actually a couple years ago. Like you shouldn't have to commit to somebody for 18 months before you even sit in a room with them and like see if they get along with everybody. And some of these are just like, well, we need players, and you're gonna play on 200 ping. How do you like a lot of it just seems like it does seem like a band-aid for some of the situations that have happened. But I
Right.
think overall it's a good thing to add. I think it's really smart because now I mean, people complain so much about like the tier 2 situation. Now you can be like, oh, I hear this guy's really good in tier 2. Let's give him 2 weeks,
yep.
and I don't
Right.
have to commit. I don't have to commit. 70 grand to a guy I don't really know, but I think he could be really good. I think he could help. Let's see for 2 weeks. Let's scrim with him for 2 weeks. Let's see. So I think
It's
it's
like an I am 7 situation. Like it would have been better to is that his name? I am 7?
I'm 37.
I'm 37.
Oh, sorry. I gave him
Well,
less
it's
than 30 years. It's
it,
fine.
it's just one of the many things that's changing because of these uncertain times, but it's something like recently Costco finally put in a 10 items or less lines. That should have always been there, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
something they just thought about because of this.
Who the
yeah. I
hell
mean,
goes to Costco and gets less than 10 items? That's just what I want to know.
Me.
just 10-gallon drums of mayonnaise. We're making potato salad for years. Let's
If
go.
they're connected, can you count them as one?
Well, they do have really cheap
I've actually never
alcohol.
been to a Costco. Never been
What?
to a Costco. Yeah.
Oh, Costco's
Okay,
beautiful.
I used to go to Sam's Club, which was like the Costco
it's like
before
the same
Costco
thing.
existed. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't shop enough for a membership. I'm just one person. I'm not buying for a household.
That's true.
They
You
have
would never
really
eat all
cheap
of it.
alcohol. I mean,
This
real
is
cheap,
true.
and it's
That sounds like
quality.
trouble.
It is. It is cool.
No, but I
Hey,
mean, like, look, the 2 week contracts make a ton of sense. You get Washington's able to get the band aids on. Maybe they want to sign those players for more. Maybe they don't, but at least those players get a shot up. But I think where like, it's really important, and hopefully it sticks around, is for some of these tier 2 players who really want a shot. because people don't want to commit to somebody they don't really know. I've always said this about tier 2 players is like, I don't know if they're good or not in the Overwatch League.
I say the
Um,
same thing. You echo me all the time with
I
that.
was like,
Like, I
oh,
don't
yeah,
care what you did before this.
I'll wait until you get into the league. And yeah, there's a lot of great players who came and started crushing the league, but some of them I didn't even really know of. I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is the guy coming in. And then you got guys coming in who I barely heard of who are like making rookie of the year runs. So, but I always look at it like the NFL draft. Like there's 10 guys who are taking top 10, and everyone in the world believes that they're the 10 best players, and 5 of them are good.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the other 5
If
are out of the league. Yeah. If you have a good draft, 5 of them are good. So it's like you just don't know. You just don't know scouting wise. And so I've never really put stock in contenders results, contenders players. I'll listen to the hype of like this guy's going to be great. It's like okay, we'll see. I've always just been like, oh, we'll see. And now this gives teams a chance to literally put them in a we'll see situation of like, we think we could upgrade our flex tank. Let's give 2 guys, maybe I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 3 guys, 2-week contracts. Doesn't cost you 50 grand each player, and you get to see. And then it's like trying out new kickers, maybe. Like, well, let's bring in 3 guys, and then one of them's got to be able to play diva, right? And then you get the guy who can play diva. So I think I think it's really good for the ecosystem, for the league, for everything. I don't see a single downside of 2-week contracts. Now, maybe someone tries to exploit it and tries to sign a player for multiple 2-week contracts. Like after his 14 days are up, they try to sign him for another 14 days. I'd imagine there has to be some language in
Right.
things
I'd
that
hope
prevent
so.
that, so that you can't just
If
minimum
there's
wage.
not
Minimum
now,
wage
there
for
probably
players.
will.
Yeah, I mean,
Wait till
ev-
Boston starts
you always
extending.
try to gain a competitive advantage. Like in baseball, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But then there's a line. What the Astros did is cheating. So yeah, stuff like that. But I think it's good. Overall, I'm yet to see a negative. Maybe it'll bear out that there is a negative in the system, but I think it's really smart. It had to happen. I don't think Washington could have fielded a team without 14-day contracts at this point in time. So it had to happen based on some things, but I think it's a net positive. I don't see
Yeah,
any downside.
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree. I think it's good for the players too, especially the Vancouver players or the ex-Vancouver players who had somewhat of a difficult situation with an organization. Like trusting another organization for a year is probably difficult for them, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what went on
Well,
there,
no,
but it
I,
didn't
yeah.
sound pretty.
I spoke from the other side of it of like, these organizations get to try out players. Players get to try out organizations now too.
Right.
And so like at least they can stay relevant. They can stay in the mix of like, yeah, I still play. I'm still on this team. I'm still alive because sometimes in esports, if you go away, you're gone forever. It's just how the nature of the business works. So it's good for players to be able like, oh, is this the right organization for me? Do I like any of these players? Or like, oh, I can't play on this team. This guy's the main caller and we don't get along at all. We see the game completely differently. There's no way I can play on this team effectively. So yeah, again, works out for both sides.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
there's 20 of them, so they all run so differently behind
yeah.
the scenes. So I mean, it's definitely good overall. So 2 people that did get those 2-week contracts are Stitch and Janu, formerly of the Vancouver Titans, went to the Washington Justice. Now Slime went to Seoul Dynasty, but I don't think that was a 2-week contract. I'm not sure though.
I don't know either. I don't really pay attention to contract lengths.
Yeah,
The only contract I pay attention to is my own.
They don't
It's
usually
selfish that
announce
way.
them either. I don't even think they announced Stitch and Janu until way later that they were 2-week contracts. Like
yeah.
their initial announcement didn't say that.
And then
Yeah, I haven't heard that Slime is on a 2-week, so I guess assume it's probably through the end of the season. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
there's a lot of, and I kind of wish Overwatch contracts were public, but
me too. Oh man, me
yeah.
too.
Because I don't even know them. I'm sure I could try to really, really find out if I cared enough, but I don't. So
I
Yeah,
also wish like the injury report or like the sick report was public, right? So you don't have to question like why isn't so and so in?
it
kills
Is
gets
he sick?
fantasy.
yeah, it
Is he
gets really
injured?
foggy with the league sometimes because there'll be like public stuff on Twitter, and we're like, "Hey, we're going to talk about that." They're like, "Well, it hasn't been announced through the league yet." I'm like, "Yeah, but the guy on his Twitter just said this." Like there
It's
has to
legit.
like can we just apply some common sense on a couple of these, right? Like he literally just the team just announced this, like just because it didn't go through the official Overwatch
Did
League
a press
channels.
release.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean sometimes we were like, well, you can't talk about this. And sometimes I'm just like, well, I'm gonna. I've had to do that a couple of times. Like, well, try not to bring up Sinatra. I'm like, well, I'm gonna. Like,
Yeah, this is
he
not
was my
possible.
favorite player. He's the former MVP. I'm like, what if I just don't say the V word? What if I just talk about Sinatra? And you know, I'm like, well, I'll ask for forgiveness if someone actually gets mad, but I want to talk about like I've been casting Sinatra since 2016. Like I'm gonna miss him as a tracer. He's a great player, obviously. But I'm like, and then I'm like, watch this broadcast. I'm gonna turn it positive. But if there's any team who can bounce back from losing Sinatra, it's the San Francisco Shock. It's like, just trust me to do my goddamn job. Let me talk about it. So yeah, yeah, some yeah.
Valiant.
Yeah, well, I don't really. I've had Valorant for several weeks and I haven't played it once yet. I'm just not interested.
I'm not
I got it.
either.
I got it like the day 2 of open beta from a developer I know at League or not League. Is it League
Right.
Riot? Yeah. And I've yet to install it. And in fact, I uninstalled it from my desktop computer because I read it like has kernel 0 access, and I'm like, nah,
Well,
that's okay.
yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody talks about it being so close to Overwatch. It's really way, way different.
Looks
I
like
mean,
Counter Strike to me.
yeah, I mean, the time
Like
to
Counter
kill
Strike
is
was
like a second, you know, like
Yeah.
only hit scan specialists are really gonna be
Well, I mean,
that
that's you know,
interested.
some of the people that went over there were former Counter Strike players. Makes the world of sense to
Yep.
me. Like if they're not interested in the game anymore and they want to go play a Counter Strike clone, go ahead. Yeah, I've always felt that esports is just it's not a zero sum game. You're not stealing from one audience to
right.
build to the other. It's like, you know, hey guys, don't mention Fortnite on there. I'm like, do you really think our audience is crossing over in Fortnite? And they're like, oh, Fortnite's really popular right now. I'm like, good. More people are playing video games or into esports or into competitive esports. That's good for us. It's like when I was an English major and I was going to be a writer, they're like, well, what do you think about Harry Potter? I was like, good. People are reading books. Those people who read Harry Potter will read books that aren't Harry Potter later. It's about growing an entire audience, and it's not the
Right.
specific product. Yeah, I mean, Valorant looks fun. A lot of people I know really like it and play it. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm not a fan of games that I have to wait to play. So I don't like buy times. I don't like respawn times being long. I played Diabotical for a little bit, and then the respawn timer was like 60 seconds, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm
Yep.
done.
That's it.
Like, I'm so used to Overwatch and its pacing, not only watching but playing. Of like, I'm playing all the time. I have 5 seconds of respawn, but I'm thinking like, what needs to happen next? Where's the kill feed? What's going on? Like, I
Right.
need to
And
be in
during
it.
those 5 seconds, you're like, ah!
Yeah, I need to be in it at all times. In those games with like, well, round Q, like I've never been able to play a battle royale because I was like, okay, I'll play, and oh, I'm looting. I got a good gun. All right, now it's 5 minutes in. I haven't seen a person yet, and I'm
Yeah!
dead.
Yep.
I'm dead. I got shot from a mile
I
away.
feel the same
So
way about
pretty
Finally,
those.
much,
I finally got the gun I wanted in
yeah,
a day.
pretty much that game to me is picking shit up off the ground and then respawning. Like that is not a fun experience to me. It may be for other people. I'm not trying to knock every other game, but like I know what I like to play and what I don't. And so far, like I don't like downtime, man. If I'm in something, I want to be in it. If I'm out, I want to be out. Like I'm not really a kind of buy a new gun half-ass. Also, it just seems like from all the streams and videos I've seen, seems like the most toxic goddamn game I've seen.
Yeah,
The France
a lot
really
of the
making this
player
name
base.
the Valorant scene.
Yeah, it's not looking awesome. I just been on that grind in Overwatch, man. I'm trying to take Overwatch more seriously as a player now than I ever have before. Trying to get on the grind. It's been fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Overwatch seems, for me at least, is the perfect pacing. I also don't like battle royales because I feel like I could never take my eyes off the screen or my hands off the mouse and keyboard, and I don't like that either. I want to take a drink of something while I'm about to respawn. Like Overwatch just seems perfect for me.
Yeah, it's just like it's just so much time where you're not shooting stuff, and then you're shooting, and either you win it or you lose it, and then that's it. Like it just seems
Yeah.
it's just not for me at all. I'd like spend like 5 minutes preparing for the one battle, and the time to kill is so low that if I miss a shot, I'm dead. And now
Mhm.
I feel like I've wasted all of that time. Whereas in Overwatch, it's like, oh, I'm gonna hit shots. All right, 5 seconds later, I'll be back. I'm coming for you. I'm switching to tracer. I'm coming back. You know, like it's
I
just
know
it
how to
to
get you.
me. Yeah, to me, it's all about pacing and time invested. And I don't know. I'm gonna give Valorant a shot. I'll see if it's good or not. But yeah, I'm kind of a gaming monogamist. I like the 2 or 3 games I really like, and then that's kind of it. I don't really have time to devote to. I mean, I guess I do have time, but those are times I want for like I want to go work out. I want to watch a show. Like I don't have. I'm not gonna game for 12 hours a day. So
Yeah.
Right.
I've pretty much stick to one competitive game, multiplayer, and then I'll play single player games, but I play that on my own time over a long periods of
yeah.
time.
I'm trying to get through Doom Eternal. I mean, that's been fun, but like single player games, that one is. I think that one is actually the single player game I've liked most in the last couple of years because the pacing is nuts. Once you're in a firefight and like there's so many demons and it's all mobility too. Like you feel like Tracer, you've got dashes, double jumps, and blinks and shit. I'm like, I'm Tracer in hell. This is great.
Tracer now. Oh.
In other team news, Bozzy, coach for Hanzo Spark leaves.
I don't know. Bozzy and coach. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Whoops. I don't know much about coach.
Bozzy is the DPS. And then their coach, yeah. Which is
Ah,
but
okay. Thank you for that correction because I did not catch that at the notes. Also, Architect leaves San Francisco Chuck and joins Hanzo Spark.
Yep.
And
I kind
then,
of theory crafted that was going to happen the other night when I was doing the games because Hangzhou had released that comic of Godspeed picking someone up at the airport. And said, "Hey, it's been a long time." So I'm like, "Okay, so former teammate, it's got to be X6, and the only one that makes sense will be Architect." And yeah, um, I may or may not
Architect
have.
was on his stream too, talking
Yeah,
about how he was homesick
I may
and
or may not have officially known that, but also it just made a ton of sense. It was like, if you can deduce it, like obviously, oh, maybe it's Hawksoul, but it's probably Architect, right? Um, so like, yeah, I mean, that was kind of a long time coming, and I like this Hangzhou team a lot. If you watched the broadcast the other night, I hit a lot of these notes, but if you didn't, it was late, and I get that. But like, the longer you watch this team, it wasn't necessarily last week, but the week before when I was watching them, or no, the night before when I was watching them. The longer you watch them, the more the cracks start to show. Where Adora isn't great, it's fine.
yeah.
He's a guy, um, and Sashin is a great Zarya. That's the end of that sentence. Um, but they've got four guys on that team that you're just not replacing, right? Like Bebe and IDK backline, sick. Um, Gushue, the primal rage blade,
Yep.
like you're not replacing him, you're not replacing Godsby. So if you're going to upgrade that team, you're looking at two spots. You're looking at flex support, or no, not flex support, off tank and flex DPS. And so to bring in Architect with Godsby, that's insanity. I wonder who plays the Echo in those compositions is the question. Because they're both kind of known as hit scan aces, except Architect's got this great Genji in his pocket. So you'd imagine that Genji Echo maybe translates a little bit together. Maybe he'll play that. We'll see, but I think it's definitely an upgrade. Adora, sadly enough, in their last match had one of his best games of the season. Right before he got
Oh.
replaced. I thought Adora actually played pretty well. I mean, he's playing Torb. It's hard to tell, but he did it fine. And then I think if they really want to continue to upgrade, I think Sashin has actually won that team games on Zarya. It's actually no doubt in my mind. I've watched VODs. He's won that team games on the Zarya. But his Diva's a little lacking. His Sigma's not standout. If they're really looking for another upgrade, maybe a 14-day contract and trial somebody else. I thought maybe bring in Janu, but yeah, he's on Washington right now. We'll see. But I think it's great for Hangzhou. Bozzy hadn't played a lot this year, and last year when he played, it wasn't anything special. Look, that DPS line for Hangzhou has been Godsby +1, right? So if you're inviting someone to a party, you're inviting Godsby and you give him a +1. Like whoever else you're gonna bring, I guess is fine. But like he's obviously the guy on that team and he can carry. So it's really cool to add Architect. Wholesome announcement between San Francisco and Hangzhou. It seemed like it was a mutual agreement.
Yeah.
I don't know what they traded for him. Maybe just be cash considerations, or maybe as little as just taking his contract over, getting it off the books. San Francisco
So
is
they could
stacked.
find Twilight.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then
they're-
the other news, Twilight joins the
Yeah.
San Francisco
well, I
Shock.
guess what were they at 12 and they needed to move somebody?
Well,
I-
Sinatra retired, so they
maybe.
couldn't have been at 12, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing they just wanted to like
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
reduce some of their overhead.
keep your budget about the same. So Twilight joining San Francisco is super interesting, and we were talking amongst the talent about that. I was like, so it's probably just for his Ana, right? And then you let Violet play Zen, because Architect had been playing Ana for this team
Mhm.
early in the year too,
Yep.
which was weird but cool, I guess. So Twilight is MVP caliber Ana player, so you bring him in to let him play the Ana. Violet can now not have to worry about Ana and just play Zen, and then you still have Moth. So I think it works out really, really well. I also don't see a world in which Architect probably would have seen a ton of damage playtime. They've not
Yeah.
been starting him lately. Like that team is just stacked.
Yeah, not even Sinatra was really seeing much playtime,
Yeah, that's why his retirement did not surprise me at all.
Yeah, me neither.
He was peaking, right? He's in MVP season, so like there's always something to be said about like, yeah, but what if he comes in and plays really poorly? Then like his image
Right.
is tarnished forever. He can retire on top, go to another game, sign an enormous contract because the money people are putting in Valorant is
Nutty.
yeah,
Is crazy.
they have money printers at hhome. I don't know. And me and someone were on a podcast and we were talking about this and we're like, and that's coming from us who are from the Overwatch League. That's how crazy this money is. Because Overwatch League money was crazy. And now we're calling this crazy. That just tells you
Right.
what the line is
Yep.
about how crazy this thing is. Um, yeah, overall, good moves. Ozzy wasn't playing. I wonder if he'll go part-time coach somewhere else. I don't know a ton about the coaching situation for Hangzhou. Slime joining Dynasty is weird. Maybe he'll only play the Lucio. He's a better Lucio than Toby, but Toby's still pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is just bolstering rosters to try to make a good run. That's it. I
And the
mean,
regions that you're in too, I think is
yeah,
helpful, right? Like you
there's
got Stitch
talent
and
out there.
Janu in Washington playing on probably 300 ping, and that sucks.
Yeah, and
But
also there's something to be said of like we're gonna sign this guy so no one in our division can sign him.
yeah,
Yep.
you got like 6 teams in your
Yeah,
division. Like,
It's yeah,
come over
7.
here.
There's 7 teams over there, so hoard some talent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about some storylines from the past weekend. One that I really wanted to talk about is a legend debuted on the Overwatch League stage. Chipsa finally got to play against the struggling Vancouver Titans. It's
Dude,
hard
that
to
was just
it's hard to
rude.
even really
That
talk
was just
about.
rude.
Um,
It was borderline BM, to be honest.
well, it is and it isn't because you do want to get guys playtime. The Valiant did it in season 1. There are a lot of teams who did it in season 1 where to go to map 4, they'd already have it locked up and they put guys in. So that's I mean it's
They
not like
played him
pure
in map
BM.
1.
Yeah, I mean Vancouver's struggling.
Yeah, I know.
So it's fine. And like the management of Philadelphia really liked Chipsa, so there was a time to put him in. Now would be the time. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm out of touch with our community. I feel like Principal Skinner in that meme sometimes of like, no, it's the kids who are wrong. I don't think it's like, I don't know. I don't. I like Chipsa. I was on a podcast with him. I was hosting, and he's a great guy, and I like him personally. The following that Chipsa has, the meme-ish thing that Chipsa has, it's not for me. It's like when people get hammer kills on Torb, they're like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, who the fuck cares? So I'm definitely Principal Skinner in that meme of like, am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong because I don't care about Torb hammer kills. I don't care that Chipsa played. Like, yeah, cool, he got in, but like for that to be as popular as it was nuts. It was even pitched to me this morning, like, hey, do you want to do Chipsa in my sites? I'm like, I really don't. I really do not. Maybe I'll do it on my stream, but like it just seems like we're playing right into it. And they're like, it's fine. We have 5 other features on Chipsa this week. I'm like, yeah, of course you do. Um,
Oh my god.
so like, yeah, I mean, good for him. Got to play undefeated. It's definitely a meme. People who were into that, I'm sure they loved it. It's not for me, man. Like I come to watch competitive Overwatch. Chipsa playing was fine. I mean, if they play him more and he becomes like a legitimate player in the league, not to say he's illegitimate, but to say he's illegitimate, like if he plays more and he plays like Doomfist and it's not just like oh, this is a shit team, let's meme on him, then I'll be
Right.
more interested. But that's just like how I enjoy watching the league, and it may not be the same way everyone else enjoys watching the league. But
I'm
to me, I don't
kind
care.
of I'm kind of like you with that. Like I kind of get upset with players that do constant emotes. I'm like, you could have hit that shot had you not messed with that emote, and I feel
Yeah.
kind of like get off my lawn, but I mean,
Yeah.
like if I was a coach,
Well,
I would not want them doing that, you know what I mean?
the stuff I do like the chat. The chat has been fun this
The
year.
chat
For a
the
brief
chat's been
moment.
fun.
Yeah. So like it's not like I'm anti-fun entirely. It's just like I just don't care as much as other people do about some of those things that are just more jokey of like, yeah, Chipsa, best Doomfist in the world, unlucky, unlucky. Hey, Torb hammer kill. Oh my god. I'm like, I don't care. I just don't like it's such a small part of the game to me, but it it's not to say people are right or wrong. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. I'm just saying for me, my enjoyment is not derived from jokes and memes in the game. My enjoyment's from watching players play really well.
Yep. And as Jaws has taught us, it's not unlucky, it's unloki.
On Luki.
Luki, that's it.
Every European Hearthstone streamer does that too. It's like show and Savit's so unlucky.
Okay, but okay, so Chipsa, we have Chipsa, but what about like the Vancouver Titans? Do you think that they have a chance to become competitive?
It's rough. They got people playing on a couple hundred ping all over the place. I think one guy's in Paris, one guy's in Saudi Arabia. Like, how do you even
Yeah,
try to find a server to put them on to be competitive and play to get competitive? The organization, I don't know all the details about it all. Like, I don't know if it was their fault, if it was a player's fault. Who cares? Here's where we're at now. They had
yeah,
to sign 6 new guys. I think I think part of it was signing people from different regions to keep like a brand appeal, because like obviously, it's the first player from Saudi Arabia in the Overwatch League, so that should sell region wise there, maybe get some fans, something like that. But it looks really bad. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look like good play. Maybe part of it you chalk up to, the guys haven't played together that much. There's guys on 200 ping, but these are all considerations you should have had when rebuilding a team. Um, I don't know. I don't like piling on a team. They look really bad right now.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be difficult for them to win a game. People are like, well, what about maybe they can beat up on Boston? I'm like, Boston just beat Gladiators. Boston has Overwatch League experienced professionals playing on their team.
right,
So they don't look terra bad. Vancouver looks difficult, but you know what? London looked worse than Vancouver this last week. So who the hell knows?
right,
Yeah, with the new face cams in, Vancouver looked happy, ready at the start, and then after they got 3-0'd, I just wanted to reach through and give them a hug because they just looked beat down. I felt so
Yeah,
bad.
I'm
I
not like a
didn't because it was Houston, so I was just like really happy that Houston actually got to 3-0 somebody. So
Yeah, congratulations, you beat a
thank
high
you.
school J team as a
Hey,
pro.
yeah, I'll take it.
Um,
Take what I
so
can
yeah,
get.
I think look, I'm not a sports psychologist or anything, though I play one on TV. Uh, what I would recommend for them is like focus. You got to start really, really small. You can't go into a set expecting to win a set. So like do everything you can to focus on winning a team fight, then
Right,
two, and maybe win a round, win a map, and like just let that confidence build organically. But like right now, you can't be thinking of like we're replacing the Vancouver Titans. We're like all of that outside shit has got to go
mhm,
away. You go in, you scrim with your guys, you be like, what do we need to do this fight to win? And you go as small as humanly possible. You can't worry about the outside. And the good thing is, there's almost no pressure on these guys because everyone's giving them a pass of like, look, I don't know what the fuck happened in Vancouver.
right,
You guys happen to be playing now. I wish you the best. People are kind of even rooting for you a little bit because no one really wants to watch people get beat up on. No one wants to see people get punched down on. It doesn't matter what the team is.
right,
So you can root against Houston now because they had success, right? So people who hate Houston now are people who, they've had success. But if it was still the 0-40 Dragons, no one's like, yeah, fuck the Dragons.
Yep, nobody.
Yeah. See, so but like I think that's they do have the goodwill of the community there of like, look, we don't know what happened with that org. You guys are just some kids trying to play the game and you got a big chance. So we're kind of rooting for you. No one wants to see a team just get smacked down constantly, especially a team that's like it just doesn't feel like their fault. So there's no
right,
pressure. You start with a fight win. Maybe you have a good attack on Dorado or something. You just start building on those little things, build on the cohesiveness, build on your successes, and there's no pressure on these guys. No one expects them to do anything. Um,
right.
so
Yeah, that's a good
yeah, but
call.
yeah, they're not good right now. But like if I was reaching out to that team and like in my small little coaching strategies, it'd be that just you got to look at the small things, focus on only
And
yourselves.
and take
Don't
those
yeah
small things as building blocks to give you more
yeah.
confidence. Yeah, that's a great idea.
You just need any sort of victory, any sort of W. Like even if you lose a team fight, but it was close. Like that's how small you have to get.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
bring up those positive things.
Well, you talked about Boston, and Boston, I had just written off, but with the addition of Punk, they looked pretty dang good this last weekend.
They looked solid. Yeah, I mean, I think Punk did look good for this team. I think they can start to put some pieces together. Boston's always relied on their superior scouting to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, I guess would be the phrase that I've heard before. Not, that sounds like I'm insulting the players. I'm not, but you know what I mean. Like they're just
Definitely know what
taking
you mean.
these pieces that nobody else wants and they're making
It's
something great out of it.
yeah, it's Moneyball.
The only yeah, yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time. Um, the only I guess caveats I would put on this Boston Gladiators bit is that they only won on control maps. And control
Yeah.
maps can be a little bit dicey, a little bit iffy one-sided, but they did win. But that would just be the thing to keep in mind at the back of your head. They won a control map, lost 2, tied 1. What they tied Hanamura, I think. And
Mhm.
then they won 2 control maps. So a lot of people think that control is just a coin flip of like whoever wins the first fight wins everything, but they won all 3 controls. That's the only caveat. And I think it's important for Boston. It is an extension of what I just talked about with Vancouver. This team needed confidence. They needed a win as this team. I think their only win came in the first week of the season. So
Against
they've been
Houston.
on it. Yeah, they've been on a absolute skid since then. So this is getting back to neutral. Maybe you can start spinning it into positive. I think they've got some decent parts. Some stuff happened to that team during the course of the year with players being Boston players, I guess. I don't know what else to
It's a
say.
Boston thing, apparently. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
becoming a trend.
but it's important for this team now. So now Punk has only known success in the Overwatch League. You can build off that. Yeah, tank
Right.
players need to have that big swing and bravado there too. So that's important. So it could be a nice building block for Boston to push forward here. They retooled the team, and the Gladiators are no slouches. I think they came in at 4-4. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, they've been playing pretty well. They've got a solid squad behind them, so it's a good victory for them.
I did think it was a little weird on the Gladiator side. I believe it was the first 2 maps, but I know for sure it was the first map. They didn't have Big Goose in. They had Paintbrush in, and I don't know much
Paintbrush,
about
yeah.
Paintbrush. So I don't
it
Neither
know.
was
do
like
I.
the first
Contenders
3
player.
maps,
Yeah.
Was it the first 3? Yeah, because I
something
mean,
like that. Yeah.
it just seemed a little odd. I thought maybe the Goose was sick, but then he came in, and
It may have been a situation of thinking you can give someone playtime in
Mhm.
a series that you're going to win.
yep, that's exactly what I thought too. But boy, Punk looked good. Like his uh I'm sucking tonight.
Is
Shield
Sigma?
tank Sigma, thank you. His Sig was amazing.
Yeah, and Sigma is a low key carry too. If you have a good Sigma,
Right.
you can win some games. That's why Soul always looked good when Marvel was playing Sigma, but the
Right.
meta has shifted.
Well,
I think they
speaking of
just I
Soul,
think Punk just brought a different energy to the team too, though. Like, I think, yes, Punk did well, but everybody else played up more than they had in the past,
Color
right?
Hex
Like,
had one of his better games this season.
oh yeah,
yeah,
Echo looked great.
and he wasn't on May, which we all know he's not a great May. So that was helpful. But I think the whole team just kind of got a boost. And then watching them like hug from 6 different angles at the end of it, I think was
That
helpful,
was that
you
was
know?
really cool.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
but
always the tale of two different stories on those player cams. You look down, and the poor gladiators are just distraught, and Boston's hugging, and but you were
listen, Boston needed a win. Come on.
they did. Speaking of Soul though, Soul's been doing weird stuff where they come and they beat last week they 3-0 the Shanghai Dragons. Then this week they get 3-0'd by the Chengdu Hunters. Is Soul the real deal, or are they just meta dependent, or what?
Yeah, meta dependent. They can run double shield, they can win. If they can't, they lose. I mean, that's pretty much been their MO throughout the entire season. And like I'm on record for it, so I gotta own it, I guess. I even tweeted it out like an idiot. When they were 2-0, I was like, I have Soul winning the championship. Doesn't
Well,
look
I
good
mean,
now. Which is
I
maybe
mean, they had profit.
I mean, look,
gesture. It looked good.
after those 2-0s, and I didn't in my sights on Marvel, and I was just watching this team. I'm like, this is the best starting 6 roster in the league. These 6 players are the best starting 6 in the league, but they've been unable to adapt to hero pools, to different metas, and it's just when they lose, it looks god awful. When they win, it looks
Yeah.
dominant. So it's just like it's just about them adapting to the meta. But if you looked at like the names on paper, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's a championship team. So I learned my lesson of maybe not predicting a 2-0 team to roll through it. A lot of season left to play. We'll see. But yeah, right now it looks like they don't understand how to play anything that isn't Sigma Orisa. When they play Sigma Orisa, it looks rugged. It looks rad. It looks really good. They're all over the place and they've got everything going for them. But right now, it is a difficult squad to watch. You can't get 3-0'd by Chengdu. Chengdu's going to hand you a couple games. They're gonna
Come
screw it.
on. Chengdu's great.
I'm the biggest Chengdu
He's a
fan on the
huge Chengdu
planet.
fan.
But let me tell you, they will hand you a couple games by not finishing fights and using
Yeah.
ults in the dumbest ways possible. They will hand you fights in games that you should take. So to get 0-3'd by them is just it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another team that I'm starting to believe isn't meta dependent, but is tracer carry dependent is the Dallas Fuel. My boys in blue. Like it seems if Tracer's not in, they're not going to have a chance because that's
No,
just what I'm seeing.
you need Decay rolling on people and just hard carrying. That team has been dependent on their damage dealers to carry them over all of their victories throughout most of the year. So when Decay and Doha don't have a performance above and beyond expectations as high tier damage dealers, the rest of the team will lose because the rest of the team is solid. They're solid guys, but they're just guys. You don't have a star at any other role on that team. To be dead honest, Crimzo's been doing a great job stepping in. Closer's fine. The tanks
Their
are
support is
fine.
lacking though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the way I would say it, is it's fine.
Yeah.
But they're not going to like carry a fight for you ever, right?
Right.
Really, the only guys who are going to carry fights for you are Decay and Doha. Tank line, again, it's fine. It's unexceptional. Although Note had one of his better Sigma games a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. He's been
Mhm.
looking
But
better. Not this
yeah,
last
and
week though.
yeah, and like no, but I think Note is always just rock solid and good. But really, I mean, you need MVP performance caliber play out of your damage dealers to win games as Dallas, and that's not sustainable. You just can't have your guys play the best game they've ever played every week. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, and also meta dependent because Tracer is a super carry DPS. When you're really on it as Tracer, you feel godly and unkillable. And I can't even imagine playing at Decay's level how you feel like just super Scion style. And Doha's been great. But yeah, this team does not have enough pieces to win games when they just get good performances out of Decay and Doha. They need great performances out of them to even be in matches, really.
Yeah, they also seem to be, at least the last 2 weeks, kind of like cutting their nose off to spite their face with their comp that they start with. They're too slow to at least switch to the mirror when they're getting just rolled. And
Yeah,
then
and like the matches. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
oh
The
no,
matches
you're
they've
good.
won this year have been matches where they've actually made adjustments mid-match rather than sticking to the game plan. All
Mhm.
that said, they played Paris. I have Paris in the top 4 in my power rankings. I don't think there's a world in which they ever beat Paris there. And
Well, and
Paris is playing without Sparkle and Xe. How
well,
embarrassing.
and what drives okay, as a Fuel fan, what drove me nuts or just driving me nuts about that game last week is Nico goes from a average DPS, that's all you could say, to a god tier Echo.
He seems to get Echo.
Oh
Echo seems to
man.
be right in sometimes players just have that like, oh, well, this makes sense. This is
Just
how I
last week. The week
always
before, it
wanted
was
to play this game. Yeah.
they showed
Uh,
his stats and they were like, Echo week 1, Echo week 2, better, Echo week 3, god tier. Right? Like
Nico's
he just
yeah.
slowly increased his skill. Which
Nico's
is
a
great.
smart player. He's been around since before I started casting. That's how long Nico's been playing
Yep.
Overwatch. So he's played every role, big brain. I mean, yeah. And then soon is no slouch. We just got really spoiled by Xe. And then, at the end of the month, Sparkle will probably make his debut for this team.
Yep. They're gonna
But I
be
mean,
Oh, yeah.
scary.
the support line for Paris has just been no one saw this one coming, right? And then Hip retires, and they're like, "Oh wow, this might suck." And then Fielder comes in, he's like, "This guy's on 200 ping, and he's an MVP candidate after 2 weeks."
Yeah,
Dude,
it's
Like
he was
it's
crazy.
ridiculous.
nutty.
And
Like
FD God has been the most fun Tracer or fun Lucio to watch play. I say Tracer because he plays it like a Tracer. FD God has been all over the tanks have been performing above average. Like this Paris team surprised a lot of people, myself included. But I picked them to upset Philadelphia in week 4 or 5, so I've been on this train for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I wanted to hit on. Atlanta Rain. What are your thoughts on Atlanta Rain? Because they've been struggling as of late.
Yeah. Well, I think the expectations were set too high by people overrating them in their power rankings. That's all I'll leave it at that.
You and me see so eye to eye on power rankings, and especially ones before the season. It's like this is dumb. Like maybe
Oh, I was
if you do
man, I
a
meant to do it.
week,
Yeah,
like
I
a
was gonna
weak
release
power
my
ranking, maybe.
I was gonna release my power rankings, which were just gonna be 20 Chengdus and a Guangzhou snuck in there. And I was gonna say this is about as accurate as everybody else's because preseason power rankings are the dumbest thing possible.
Stupid. You have no
You're gonna
Yeah,
have
clue.
one
Meta's
price, right?
changed.
no,
Everything's
I get it. I
changed.
get it from the end of people who put them out. Is there's nothing else to talk about. We have no content to put on Twitter and Instagram. I might as well make these. People will read them. People will eat them up. Like
People love
you
them.
know,
People
yeah,
love them.
I think they're dumb. I think power rankings in general are dumb, but meh, whatever. It's again, there's so many things that I just don't care about anymore. It's just not my thing, so I'm not gonna get mad about it. It's not my thing to do power rankings. So more power to you if you like power rankings. But I think they never beat a good team, really. Even early in the year, they were beating up on some teams that were below them. So you saw the record and you're like, oh, it's a good team. And I'm like, no, I don't think they are. I really
Yeah.
don't think they are. There's nothing that stands out to me. Baby Bay is a really good player. I'll give him that. But
Yeah.
I think they
I think
were
they're good at double
overhyped.
shield. I think they're
Yeah.
good at double shield, but
If they
They'll be
stop
in the
changing
they'll be
out
in the
all their tanks.
conversation. They'll be at the conversation in the end of the year because they're not a bad team, and there's a lot of bad teams in the North American region. So, they're middle of the pack. I don't think you should really expect them to be blowing out teams like San Francisco or even being competitive against them. I think they were overrated in the power rankings, and some of that's coming to bear. They beat up on lower teams, and that's how they got where they were.
I guess then Mayhem. Everybody's talking about how great they are, but
Hard to say.
they
Mayhem
haven't
beat
played anybody
Boston
big.
twice.
Yeah, I
And
know, but
Vancouver.
the eye test is they look better overall. So it's an improvement for Mayhem, and also like I'm not going to rate them highly. That would be falling into the Atlanta mistake. But at the same time, I'm not going to downgrade them for beating teams that they should beat. You can only beat the teams on your schedule, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, and
At least
they've
it's
beat
not.
them handily.
Yeah, at least it hasn't been like super close, and they're getting good performances. And this is the confidence that Mayhem needs, perhaps, to go forward and like start considering themselves a top tier team. New uniform, new year. Uh, those old Florida teams, no one cares. Doesn't matter. We're this new Florida team, and we need some wins. And so, yeah, you can only beat the teams in front of you. And now they have like one of the top seeds, probably coming into the tournament. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to rate them super highly until I see them against good teams because I think that's the right way to do things.
Yep.
But
Right.
at the same time, I'm not going to be like, oh, they're trash. You can
Right.
only beat the teams on your schedule. I don't know.
Yaki's looked really good. Like for anybody who didn't see it, he had a three shatter Echo ult into Reinhardt. So he got 3 shatters before he changed back to Echo, and I'm not sure that we've seen 3 in the Overwatch League yet.
It's not really like super impressive from Yaki's part. It's kind of just like, why Echo broken?
Yeah.
I feel
Broken.
like my favorite was the meme I saw of like Yaki being like, I can't die. And the healer being like, oh my God, I'm trying to keep you alive. Like he was like so low so many times. And like that was
Yeah.
all the Ana.
Yeah,
Let's be
I mean,
real.
a lot. You try to point that out on broadcasts, but I mean, let's also be real that Reinhardt gets duplicate Reinhardt gets Earthshatter just from a good fire strike. So
Right. Or good
maybe
pin.
some numbers need to be tuned there a little bit, but every hero on release has been overpowered, so I'm not surprised by it.
I also feel
And
like her
Echo's fun to watch, man. She is really
No,
fun
like
to watch.
yeah, it doesn't seem as broken as some of the other stuff too. So it's like there is a
Yeah.
skill involved, and I'm fine with that. It's just I think one of the minor tunes I'd make is maybe making ultimate harder to get in duplicate mode, just because like it should be, and it shouldn't be the exception when they don't get it.
right.
Like should be like you have to do something interesting to get ultimate rather than just like, oh, I'm Winston, I'm gonna get a primal rage.
Yep.
Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really played enough of Echo to really get a good feel for it, but it
As
does
she
seem like
goes,
guaranteeing an or a Brigitte rally or guaranteeing a Winston primal on a ultimate. There should be some risk there. I don't know if there's enough
Right.
risk in the Echo ultimate.
and I've definitely
also-
seen teams getting better at stopping it by seeing the ulting Echo, and I just assume teams will get better at that as time goes on, just like teams got better at Tracers got better at handling Brigittas,
Yeah.
for an instance.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think-
it's too early to tell.
Her beam. Like her beam needs to not do as much damage as it does
Oh,
at
the balance
50%.
beam?
I think it needs to do it at like 20 or 30%. Like the fact that somebody could be at 50% health and
A
just get
tank.
demolished in a half a second is crazy to me.
Well, that's the combo, though. I always explain this of like getting hit by sticky bombs from Echo is not terrifying. What's terrifying is you know what's coming next.
Yep.
It's not so much that you got hit by stickies; it's that you know she's coming with the balanced beam, and you're about to
Right?
get deleted.
Oh
Yeah, and you
man.
can't do anything about it.
Nah, I know. It's when new heroes get released, it's really interesting to me because maybe we haven't even seen how good Echo can be. That's
Right.
possible. Or maybe she looks really good now because teams haven't figured out exactly how to play around her. But we just don't know yet. It's just such a small sample size that it's going to be one of those two that either she might actually not be a very good hero and teams will figure out how to play around her, or she might be even better than what she is now when teams really, really figure her out. But I think maybe I'm wrong on that because maybe it's settling in. We're about like what, 3 weeks in on it?
Yep.
Maybe even a month of since her release. So maybe this is just her power level. I'm interested to keep watching it play, but I like Echo as a hero. I think she's super interesting to watch. Fun mechanics, adds a wrinkle to the game. I mean, it does really feel like a fresh game when Echo's in there because of the ultimate ability and like there, she adds a lot to it. She adds I don't know, it really invigorated it. There's some heroes that get added to the game that you don't really care about and you don't really see, but Echo has been like kind of a game changing hero, and I think Overwatch needs more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she could definitely use some tweaks, but I've really enjoyed watching her. The last team I just kind of want to ask you and get your opinion on is the Toronto Defiant.
Um,
I thought they would be better. I still feel that Logix is the right choice, but I think Surefour over Agilities. I really do. And it sucks because I know them both and I like them both, but I just think Surefour would be better, at least in that Echo role.
Maybe it's really hard to tell, and it's got to be hard to coach that team because you have all these talents. And I think agility has actually had a pretty good echo. I think logic is definitely the right choice, but also I've said this about that team before. Agilities and logics are magicians. They perform magic and then they disappear sometimes. You never know which logics you're going to get. Are you going to get carry logics? Thank you, Mr. Logics. Or are you going to get like, where do we have a McCree? Oh, we have a McCree.
Who are
Okay.
you?
Yeah, but I think he's been more consistent this year, so maybe that narrative is falling off a little bit. But I think with Ash and McCree and Widow in the meta, you definitely play Logics. I think I don't know. I don't know the internals of why Shore 4 is not playing. I think he's a big brain. I think he's good at calls. I don't know what his hero pool looks like now, but it seems like maybe they're just going for more consistency of like we can't keep rotating in and out damage dealers. Like maybe logics and agilities take a match to get ready to go, but we're going to keep them in, and we think they give us our best chance. So it's hard to say. The Defiant are a team that's like on the cusp. I think they can hang with anybody, but they could also lose to anybody. I have a very difficult time getting a read on the Defiant right now, to be dead honest.
Fair, same. I have a really tough time.
They should be better than they are, is all I can say.
You would
Like, I
think, yeah,
feel
on
like they
paper.
should be.
So to close out the show because we've went kind of long. Not really going
Yeah,
to talk
I talk a
about.
lot. Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, it's great,
Blame
but
hacks.
I don't want to keep you here the entire night. So
I
let's
do have to
just
stream.
yeah, let's talk about just the May tournament as what it is instead of really the individual games because I don't even think North America has put up what teams the top teams have chosen to play.
No, I think the pick show happens Friday morning. I don't know. I don't know actually. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not really any point to talk about that, but I do kind of want to talk about the tournament and what you think. Uh, what you think about it. I think it's pretty cool, but at the same time, I wish teams knew about it prior to the season starting.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
it's a
it's
response to COVID, though. I
Yeah,
don't
we have
think it's
yeah.
like
Because homestands were going to be their own little mini tournaments, kind of hype anyway, and it just felt like after a while of seeing the same teams fight each other out in these regions and like the limitations that we had to deal with, that the stakes felt lacking. Of like, I don't care anymore which team is winning and losing, and that even comes from like our aspect. Like, I'm the biggest fan there is, and it's my job, and I'm like, but there was like, I don't care. No, I don't care if this team beats this team anymore. I just don't. There's nothing at stake. So I think it was just to add some stakes into it of like, yeah, you're gonna get some money, we're gonna get some wins. And it feels like it's replacing what the stage finals were missing. Now we
Right.
didn't need that if we had homestands, because homestands are of themselves were their own hype thing of like, can this home team win? Can another team come in? Like, who's going to
Right.
dominate this mini tournament that we have? And we're running 2 of them a weekend. But it's a response to these games feel stale. And I will
Mhm.
give management and upper management a lot of credit for recognizing that. Like, we didn't really have to bitch about it. They were just like, oh, yeah, the games feel bad. We're going to fix that. Like, okay, cool. And so this was the idea. I don't know how they came up with monthly melee. I don't know where my check is on that one.
No, I agree. I
Oh.
think it's a great idea to make things a little bit more exciting
Yeah,
monthly, right? And even to get people invested, even more casual viewers invested in a shorter period of time, right? Because you come in as a casual viewer, say you haven't ever seen it before, and it's like, well, I don't even know anything about it, but you can invest in a team for a month and then decide if you want to keep watching. And I
yeah.
think that it's a I think it's a great change. I hope it doesn't continue after the pandemic. I want
Who knows?
homestands
Who knows
to
when the pandemic ends? You know, like,
yeah, 7 years down the
I
road, we'll
yeah.
just
all be sitting here
I
in our
just hope
houses.
that we could that things end in time to actually get some sort of grand finals set up, but I'm not holding my
It's
breath.
who knows? Like, there's just no reason to even try to project into the future because no one knows anything. But I think overall, this tournament is really, really cool. I'm more invested in it. Like, we're gonna like this team's out, knocked out. Like, it's a big thing to be able to call in a broadcast. Also, it's not just money, which is I don't think the viewers give a shit about money. I don't think that anyone cares about a team winning 20K or something. No one, honestly, no one gives a shit. But if you win the tournament, you get 3 wins. So
Yeah.
if one of these like bottom tier teams gets hot at the right time, catches fire, then all of a sudden, the Outlaws are a legitimate team again. All of a sudden,
Yes.
the Valiant are like leading the league. Like, anything can happen with that. And I think just adding stakes, and I talk about this when I do VOD review all the time too, just even on a micro level when you're casting a game, I'm like, what are the stakes? What's the story? A story has to have stakes, something has to matter, right? And for a while, it didn't matter. Like, oh, I guess I'll watch Florida versus Dallas. I don't know why, but I'm gonna watch it. Um, and now, like, I think adding the monthly tournament has been a really smart move. Hopefully, everything goes really well. But I mean, the games mean more. I'm way more excited about casting this coming weekend than I have been prior.
I'm
Except I like
super
the late night
excited.
tournaments because I do like the APAC region. The APAC region is super
Yep.
fun to cast. Also, it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, I know no
You're
one's
just
watching.
like
I can do whatever the
loopy.
hell I want.
Oh man. Well, I do watch quite a few of those, like usually the first one because I'm still up, but I'm definitely not crisp. Definitely not crisp.
Yeah, I tried to readjust my schedule. I was streaming like all week and I was like, okay, 1 more hour later at night, 1 hour later at night. I was going to bed at like 6 or 7 in the morning, just to try to adjust my schedule so I
Oh,
wasn't dead ass tired at 3 a.m. But it's weird, man. There's no really adjusting to that. Even when you're doing
mm-mm.
it, you feel unhealthy, you feel weird. You'd wake up at like 1 p.m., be like, the day's over already. And I
Yep.
didn't get anything
Right.
done. Like it just
You're like,
I
is it
may
breakfast or
yeah,
lunch? I don't
maybe
know.
if I did it for months on end, I would adjust to it, but having to do it just 1 week, I'm like, this ain't it. I can't. This ain't it for me. Like, but I wanted to
Yeah.
not be tired when I'm trying to watch games, so
Definitely.
I tried that. But I think yesterday I fell asleep right after the games ended at 5 p.m. I woke up at 8. I went back to bed at 10 p.m. So my sleep schedule is back on board.
Oh my
My
god.
body was just like, dude, you can't do anything. I tried to get up and get something to eat, and like I rolled over on my side, and then my body's like, "Nope, we're just switching positions," and I went like, right back to bed.
Oh man, yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
I'm pretty excited about the tournament. I'm kind of hoping that the end of the year, actual playoffs do like a March Madness thing because of all the weirdness that's went through schedules. I'd love to just see 20 teams and your record just gives you your seed, and then they do
Yeah,
two different brackets. It'd be
I
cool.
would tend to agree with something like that, or like maybe you do that after you do a mini play-in tournament, something along the line. But
mhm.
giving everyone a shot, I
Right.
think would be the smart play. I don't know. I'm not involved in all of these meetings, and if I was, I couldn't tell you. Like it does sound like a good idea to me to have like all the teams involved, just because it's been such a weird year. Um,
Yeah.
but like maybe the top 10 teams don't have to play week 1, something like that.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
sure
yeah.
you could figure out some math. Like you don't want to make the entire regular season invalid. But
Right.
you do wanna give everyone a shot because it's been such a strange year. But overall, I think we're adjusting, doing the best we can, and it's been odd, but it's what I look forward to every week still. It's like, oh, I get to work today.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have your job, but I can't cast, so that's
Either
kind
can I. Hasn't stopped me.
I can BS all
Hex.
day on a mic, but I guess I
Wait,
could
can I
try
ask
that.
one question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
shoot.
go ahead.
Who do you think will win the Asia division, and who do you think will win the North America division
So it's
in
really
the
easy to say, like,
melee?
yeah, just say like Shanghai because that would be easy, and then but then who cares if I'm right? God, I really like Guangzhou right now. So I
They're the
think that
number
game's
one
gonna
seed.
Charge
yeah,
has looked really good since
that
Echo came out.
game's gonna come down to that's gonna end up being Guangzhou versus Hangzhou. And Hangzhou with
Mhm.
architects. Me. My gut says
But
Guangzhou.
Architect's not going to be in
Eh,
Korea yet.
maybe.
He's
My
got a
gut
2-week quarantine.
Oh,
He
yeah, my
can't.
gut says Guangzhou anyway because everyone knows what a stan I am for Happy. And so yeah, Guangzhou's been playing so well lately. I really like
Yeah.
Guangzhou, and I think they could beat Shanghai, which I think is the only other real legitimate team in that region right now. Shanghai is going to roll over Spitfire because that Spitfire just put on an embarrassment the other night. If you haven't watched it, don't waste your time. And Excelsior probably come out of that. Shanghai beats Excelsior, so Guangzhou beats Hangzhou. Guangzhou versus Shanghai in the finals. I got I mean, they're the number one seed, but I think they would probably still be coming into that as slight underdogs. So Guangzhou. And
I
then
think the Hunters are just going to roll through it and
yeah,
just
well,
with
yeah.
Wrecking Ball and be like, peace out, guys.
And then North America, it's got to be down to Philadelphia or Paris. I'd like,
Really, over the
yeah,
shock.
No shock, huh?
I mean, Shock are fine. But like again, like who cares if I pick the Shock? Picking Chalk is not all that fun. Um,
True.
yeah, Paris. I've been riding Paris pretty hard lately. I like Paris a lot. So yeah, I'll go Paris.
I feel like it's gonna be Fusion. I feel like
Yeah,
they're
very
just
well could be.
complete.
I think Paris and Fusion are the best teams in that division. I think Shock are very good. But my gut puts Paris and Philadelphia above San Francisco right now. I could not tell you why, but that's why it's a gut feeling.
I think Houston is going to ride the momentum from winning the Lone Star Challenge
Oh yeah, that all
to the
important Lone Star
top.
Challenge.
The Lone Star
Yep.
Challenge today,
Yep.
yeah. I'm not gonna be able to live that down forever.
Yep. Sorry, Bob. We won.
Oh,
We
Des.
are better than you.
All right. Well, we are going to close out the show. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, it's at @OWL2020. If you want to send an email, it's contact@owlrecap.com. We do stream live every Monday on twitch.tv/owlrecap. If you want to see the VOD on YouTube, that's youtube.com/owlrecap. I believe that Hex's episode 38, where we did his first interview, is the first one we actually streamed and pushed over to YouTube. So I believe you can find that there if you would like to learn more about Hex. If you want to join our Discord server, it's discord.me/omniclab. And with that, Mel, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
What about you, Hex?
At Hexagrams on Twitter, and I've been trying to stream. I streamed like every day last week. Gonna stream again tonight. That's twitch.tv/hexagrams. Watch the grind.
All
There you
right.
go. What's your next cast? Can you tell us?
I unless it's public, I don't feel
Oh,
because the
okay.
schedule also changes pretty often.
He'll be casting
I'll be casting this weekend
some of
for
the
sure.
Overwatch League.
Yeah. I think games start Friday and go through Sunday, so I think I have a couple days this weekend.
Awesome.
Cool.
And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.